I thought there was only one way to do college.
I needed to take my family's farm to the next level, but I didn't have 4 years.
I needed to get right into my career.
I wanted to work in healthcare.
So I decided to go where I knew I could get the best training and fast.
I knew Snow College would give me the edge I needed.
I wanted to start working right away. This is college.
This is college.
This is college.
This.
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 This is college.
My name is Stacy McKiff, and I'm really excited to introduce our speaker today and want to welcome all of our great high school students. I think we've got students here from Mount Pleasant down to Panguitch, which I'm particularly fond of. So I'm a graduate of Panguitch High. So where are our Panguitch students? Yay! Hi, go Bobcats. I'm excited to be with you today and share this wonderful speaker with you. We don't get to host Convocation in Richfield very often. So hello also to the 300 or so students in Ephraim, and then all those who are watching the streaming of the presentation today too. I want to tell you a little bit about Danielle, but first I also want to thank Dustin Shakespeare and the CTE directors in our region for promoting this presentation. I got to know Danielle a little bit through visiting Owens Corning, where she is the plant manager, and just so impressed with her background and her enthusiasm and energy, and I think you're really going to enjoy her presentation today. So Danielle has a BFA and an MBA from Bowling Green State University and is currently the plant leader for Owens Corning in Nephi. A native Ohioan, Danielle moved to Utah in October 2020 and has been loving the outdoor playground in her backyard. I'm thrilled to introduce her today and look forward to her great message. Thanks.
Is this on? There it is. Hi, everyone. I'm a pretty casual person, so hopefully you guys are a little casual with me here, because being up in front of people, I'm used to talking to all of my employees, but y'all make me nervous, so. So hi, yes, as Stacy introduced me, I'm Danielle Sendi. I am currently the plant leader at Owens Corning in Nephi. From Ohio, and yeah, don't you know, my Midwestern accent does come out quite a bit. I do love cheese, carbs, and a lot of all the other unhealthy things that Midwesterns eat to stay warm during the winter. So anyway, enough about comedy. I'm not here to be a stand-up comedian, and I'm here to tell you my story. So basically, like she said, if you would have told me before COVID that I would have moved across the country and found myself in Utah, speaking at a college in central Utah about my life, I would have laughed at you. So I'm really humbled to be here. I always thought my story was rather mundane, but coming out here and really talking to a lot more people, I have learned that I do have a little bit of an interesting perspective. So basically, I'm just a small town girl from Ohio. Yeah, you got it. I feel awkward holding my notes. This is my story. I should know it, you'd think. Anyway, I grew up in a little town called Millbury, Ohio. We have about 1,200 people there. No stoplights. Our post office is the highlight on our Wikipedia page. So for any of you guys that grew up in small towns, holler. But one of the fun things about coming from a small town is when you go to high school, there isn't a whole lot of competition. So I hear we have a lot of high school students here. Raise your hand if you're in high school. All right, cool. I feel like I was just in high school not too long ago, so don't mind that. I think I'm still cool. But going to high school, I graduated with about 110 people. I got to be on the cheerleading squad, quiz bowl, band, theater, student class VP, whatever. I was just like, oh, you got an opening? I'm gonna go for it. So a chronic overachiever really is what my problem is. And so growing up, I knew I wanted to be something big. In about 1996, if I remember correctly, the movie Twister came out. And I was inspired by the one and only Helen Hunt to become a storm chaser. So how many people in here knew what they wanted to be when they were like 10 years old? Okay, well, I was into it. I was committed. I was in Girl Scouts. I was job shadowing every meteorologist I could possibly get hooked up with, doing all my projects around meteorology, and going to every STEM camp I could possibly go to, because I was in that lucky first round of generation where they're like, oh, we haven't been marketing STEM to girls, and girls are capable. We should try that. And I was like, yeah, surprise, surprise, girls know how to think. Be careful now. So went to STEM camps, did all that stuff. I was ready to go, but didn't think I had the money to go to college. So I was like, okay, small town girl, what are my options? You go to college, you become addicted to drugs, which I wasn't really interested in, or you join the military. So I started meeting with the Air Force. I thought, okay, I'm gonna join the Air Force. I'm gonna go to the school out in Colorado. Everybody's gonna think I'm cool because I live in the mountains and we come from Pancakeville, Ohio. I'm gonna go into meteorology, be a chief flight planner. This was my dream. And that was my dream from 10 until about 15 years old. So 5 years seems like a long time when you're 15 years old. It's a third of your life. And unfortunately, at that time, I had a strong conversation with my mother, and I said, Mom, I'm gonna join the military. And told her my dreams, and she listened to me very patiently, and she said, Danielle, over my dead body. And I said, oh, well, crap, all right. So I went back to the drawing board for a little bit, and then, out of the great irony of the universe, my mother died. And I was 15 years old without a mother. My family was quite literally falling apart. I was the fortunate party that ended up finding her, and my entire family said, we're so thankful that you were the one to find her, because if I would have found her, I would have killed myself. I said, oh, okay, well, I'm 15 years old. That's awesome. I get to carry my entire family on my back for a little bit. So, long story short, decided, look, my dad needs me here, my sister needs me here. Instead of going off to the Air Force Academy in Colorado, I'll go closer. I'll go to the University of Michigan. Well, if you guys don't know, that costs an arm and a leg too. So I was very quickly seeing my dreams fall apart. I was loving science. I thought I was going to be that generation of girls that is able to accomplish all those dreams. I could be on the billboards. I could be on the college marketing packets, be that cool face. And I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, I need to take care of my family. So decided to stay. Bowling Green State University is in Bowling Green, Ohio. I know you guys all know exactly where that is because that is where the National Tractor Pulling Championships take place. and it happens to take place on move-in weekend for the university. So it's a really fun time, great time to meet people, very interesting people too. So anyway, Bowling Green was about a half hour away from my house, and so that's where I went. Decided, well, if I can't be Helen Hunt from Twister, what Helen Hunt can I be? Because Helen Hunt is my role model. And a movie called What Women Want was popular at that moment, and she was an art director. So I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna be an art director. So went to Bowling Green, started off in marketing, very quickly realized all those STEM classes and everything that I was really good at when I was young, for some reason, calculus was no longer something I could do, and I couldn't get through my business classes, so I changed my major to fine art. And while you might think, well, Danielle, you got scared and ran away and you took the easy way out. No, see, with the Fine Art College at Bowling Green State University, you have to pass a portfolio every year. And you can start in the college and it can be your dream, and they can say, thank you very much, thank you for the tuition, you can see your way out. So it was a very vigorous program, and I ended up really finding a true passion of mine, which was art. About my sophomore year of college, another fun life event happened. I had a mental breakdown. Don't recommend, but if you do, make sure you have some good friends, because I had some really great friends during that period of time. But during that, I also realized I was forcing myself to live a lie. I never dealt with my mom's death. I focused on taking care of everybody else other than myself. I was forcing myself down a path that I really wasn't happy with. And yeah, you know, like your sophomore year of college, you're like, what, 20, 21 years old. I was going to pivot my life again, but I was already pretty far down the road and financially committed to a 4-year degree, and I was scared to death of changing my major. So I was entering into my senior year, and how many professors do we have, or teachers in the audience? You know, got a couple, I'm assuming. We're at a college, that happens. Never doubt your ability to impact your students. And I really want to call out one professor I had. His name was Matt Davis, and a little twist of fate, tables turned later in my career with him, but I'll explain that later. But anyway, Matt Davis was the chair of the graphic design department at Bowling Green State University at the time. And he saw me. He saw that I wasn't happy. I was good at graphic design, but I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I wasn't great. I wasn't gonna be the next Milton Glaser or whatever other graphic designer you wanna call out. I was not really passionate about it because I had realized I was forcing myself down a road I wasn't happy with. So Matt saw in me that I was really good at strategy. I was really good at business. I might not be great at calculus, but guess what? I'm sorry, professors, I just did this like war moment with you all, but there's this thing in the professional world called Google. And I don't need a calculator anymore, because all that stuff is automatically calculated for you. Don't tell your math professors that, but it's true. So anyway, Matt knew this. He had worked in the real world, and he's like, look, Danielle, don't let the calculus scare you away. You know strategy. You're going to be awesome in business. Instead of having a huge portfolio show at the end of the year, you're going to turn in a rebrand of a current company and a business strategy with a 5-year plan. And I was like, all right, Matt, you got it. And I did it. I got an A. It was reviewed by professors in our business college who probably realized I was a pretty awesome student that they, you know, whatever. Anyway, so I freaking graduated. I got a 4-year degree. And I said, cool, I got this degree and I don't want it. And I got $80,000 worth of debt. I gotta get a job. And this awesome, cool thing happened in the world at that time, if you remember. It's called the financial crisis. And there were no jobs. Y'all are lucky because you're going to be graduating into a ridiculous economy where, I mean, me as a boss right now, I would love to hire all of you. But when I graduated into the world and I was born a young babe with a degree, I could not find a job to save my life. Ended up finding a part-time graphic design job at a agency and was working 2 other jobs. I was working freelance and I was working at the good old mainstay of Lowe's Home Improvement, helping couples in the back aisle of Lowe's not get divorced over paint colors or carpet choices. So during that time, I earned my degree in counseling. Not really, but anybody who's worked retail can probably understand you grow a lot as a human when you work retail or any service industry, for that matter. God bless any of you guys that are working in the service industry, quite honestly. But anyway, so was working my tail off. There was days that I would show up at the wrong job. There was days where I would be dressed up in my heels and my dress, and I'd be groggy walking into what I thought was where I was supposed to be, and I was walking into Lowe's. Wrong job, wrong clothes. It was a good time. It was a good time in my life. But what happened to me in college that I skipped over because, you know, I said at the beginning I was an expert in my life and I forget parts of it. So I had this really great internship at Therma-Tru Doors. That introduced me, that confirmed that I hated graphic design, but it also confirmed to me that I love the building materials industry. Who knew? A girl could be interested in building materials. And again, some of the younger girls in this audience might not realize that that's taboo, but that was really taboo just even 5-10 years ago. So, love building materials, hated graphic design. Met my husband, by the way. I recommend internships. He was the HR intern, I was the graphic design intern. It was scandalous. But we're married, and that worked out, thank God. But anyway, so during that internship, as you guys can tell, I'm not afraid to share my perspective. I say what's on my mind. And I had answered some rhetorical questions of a vice president once at Therma-Tru. And everybody thought I had ended my career. And you know, when you're 22 years old, of course, you believe them. Well, turns out during that period of time where I was catatonically walking through life, was out at the mall Christmas shopping and ran into said vice president. And he said, you know what, Danielle, you're not afraid to be bold. How would you like to have my recommendation for a job in marketing? And I'm like, Jerry, that's the best thing I've heard all day. You mean I don't have to do graphic design anymore? He's like, well, you might have to do some design, but really you're going to be doing social media, you're going to be doing website design. I said, you said design, I'm out. And then I realized, wait, one job with a salary and benefits in this economy? Sign me up. So I applied and I got the job. Thank you, I know. That job was with Sunrise Windows. And small window company out of Temperance, Michigan, which I know you guys all know where that is. This is Michigan. Someone laughed. Someone knows a Midwesterner. It's right here. And I grew up right here. I was on the cuff of the mitten. Anyway, so Sunrise Windows, small company, just went through the downturn. Everybody was doing 5 people's jobs. So I got a lot of experience. It was kind of like a multiple hats kind of job. And I really recommend that to anybody if you're looking at going into a professional career and not working in a family company or something like that, find a place that's gonna give you a broad swath of experiences, especially when you're early in your career, and if you're not completely married to the idea of whatever you're doing, try other stuff out. It's a really great way to like help yourself not be miserable, I guess. But anyway, so went into Sunrise and worked there for a couple years, and I had all this great experience with entry doors, notably mostly just photoshopping them, because, you know, graphic design is really just photoshopping. I was like an OG photoshopper. You guys all have apps on your phones that you can make things look real. I had to Photoshop doors onto houses. That is art, people. You have no idea. So anyway, I would literally close my eyes and I would see doors and like glass designs, and I really, again, like I said, I really realized that's just not what I wanted to do with my life. So Sunrise was at a great opportunity in their company's history where they were looking to introduce entry doors to their lineup. And me, as the quiet person that I am, sat quietly in the back of all those meetings and didn't tell them that they were idiots for not choosing that glass design, because that glass design sells 40% more in Texas markets than that one would, and you know, all the other kind things that I had to say. And very quickly, my vice president of marketing at that time said, you know what, Sendi, well, I was Zyler at that time, but let's just keep Sendi. You know what, Sendi, you're kind of smart. You want to lead this? And I said, heck yeah, I do. Does that mean I don't have to do graphic design anymore? And he said, yeah. And I was like, sold. I'm your girl. I'll do it. So didn't really know what I was getting into, but there's this field called product management. And that was not like a major. It wasn't something that anyone had ever told me about. But basically what product management is, if you don't know, and I'm just going to pretend like you don't because I have the microphone and you don't, so bear with me. So product management is basically like marketing and sales on steroids. I'm going to make it sound so much cooler than it actually is. So basically you get to decide what your brand is, what your product offering is, what are those selling points, who you're going to sell it to, what markets you're going to sell it to, how people are going to sell it, what's the pricing, all of that stuff. Well, at Sunrise, you do. At Owens Corning, there's like 90 people who do that, but whatever. Anyway, so it was really fun. I really liked it. I also got to get some international experience at that point. And again, being in the building materials industry as a female who, okay, don't judge me how I'm dressed today. I used to be very fashionable. I used to watch Mad Men and like dream of the day that I could wear like those really like awesome dresses and heels, and like I didn't smoke, but I was like, yeah, I'm awesome. I'm gonna be like her. And so I dressed way too formal for the building materials industry, and I'd walk into these like pultrusion manufacturing companies wanting to tell them, yeah, can you change that curve of that pultrusion a little bit? And, you know, I want my stuff to look like this. And they'd kind of laugh me off, and then I got really mean, and then they did what I wanted. So life lesson, just be mean. No, I'm joking. Really, sugar catches more than vinegar or honey or whatever that saying is. So anyway, but I started realizing very quickly that I was really only listened to by my vendors and male counterparts that found me attractive. And like, okay, I'm not that bad looking. I used to be a lot cuter, but like that doesn't last, folks. So I very quickly was at a kind of a fork in the road of saying, if I want to stay in a field where it's dominated by men, I either need to start my nest egg for plastic surgery, or I need to pony up and learn what I'm talking about. So thankfully I had a couple of women in the field who were trailblazers before me and showed me that you don't have to be the best looking female in the room to have everybody listen to you, because guess what? As soon as you're the best looking female in the room, no one's listening to you anyway, they're just looking at you. So I'm just giving you guys some real life advice. Sorry, Stacy. But anyway, so I really took that as a moment for myself of personal development. Like, when you're early in your career, you can kind of fake it till you make it, and we all do, and it's totally fine. But there does come a moment in your career, no matter what you're doing, that you have to kind of pony up, learn what you're talking about, and get down to business. And I used that position to do that. I read every single blog, magazine article, whatever I could find to educate myself about product management, about entry doors, about, all different kinds of weird terms that are now blinking out of my mind. But mullions, does anybody here know what a mullion is? I thought it was a type of vegetable. It's apparently what goes between panes of glass. Who knew? So I had to gain all of that technical knowledge very quickly to be taken seriously. And long story short with that, was able to work in Toronto for about 2 weeks out of every month, working with our company out of Canada to introduce their very first entry door line in the United States, our very first entry door line in the company's history, and got to go to trade shows all over North America to introduce my new product line, and it was freaking awesome. And I very quickly realized that I wanted more. Chronic overachiever, remember? So I started looking, and the economy was doing better, more jobs were opening up, and Owens Corning is headquartered out of Toledo, Ohio. So that is where I grew up. That's like the city, which is really like Provo and so Owens Corning is based out of Toledo, Ohio, and it's a global Fortune 500 company. There are actually many Fortune 500 companies that are based in Toledo, Ohio. Toledo is known as the Glass City. We have Libby glass there that if you go to probably any restaurant, the glasses you drink out of, if there's a little cursive little L on the bottom of those, that's a Libby glass and was manufactured in Toledo, Ohio. If you buy pasta sauce in a glass bottle or drink a beverage out of a glass bottle and it has a little O-I, that is Owens, Illinois. Owens, Illinois is based out of Toledo, Ohio, another global Fortune 500 company. Actually, I think they might have fallen out of the Fortune 500, but let's just, for the sake of this story, we're gonna pretend like they're in there still. Anyway, so multiple, Dana Corporation, a couple of other companies are based out of Northwest Ohio, but Owens Corning, as soon as I realized that building materials were my passion, I knew I wanted to go to Owens Corning. It's the Pink Panther, the part of my soul that was still loving art. Owens Corning was the first company to trademark a color. If you didn't know that, now you do. It's pink, by the way, which is why I chose this microphone, because it has a pink piece of tape on it. Felt like I had to be on brand. But Owens Corning has a fantastic marketing history, and I felt like, okay, if I'm gonna be able to leverage anything that I do, I'm gonna leverage marketing to get in Owens Corning. So applied, never got chosen. I was always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Great candidate, great resume, we'll be in touch. And then finally an opportunity opened up and I got hired in as a marketing specialist for our basement finishing systems, which I don't think we ever sold out here. So nobody knows, and I'm irrelevant, okay. So did that for a while, finally got my foot into Owens Corning, and I was so thankful. I thought, Danielle, girl, you've made it. This is your dream job. You're awesome, and I felt so great about myself. Hired in February 4th of 2016, and my first year-end review with my boss at that time, she told me that everything that I had learned in my career didn't matter, that I was too stubborn, too bullheaded, nobody wanted to work with me, I was never gonna be successful at Owens Corning, and that I really needed to make an attitude adjustment if I ever wanted to have any runway with the company. Oh, okay, well, you're a word that I can't say when I'm being broadcasted and recorded at an educational institution, okay? So I had to take a moment and, put my tail between my legs, and I walked out in our beautiful world headquarters building and kind of sat there and talked to some other leaders around me, and I said, look, I'm doing what I learned to be successful. As a female in this industry, I chose that I wasn't gonna be the hottest girl in the room. I chose I was gonna be the smartest girl in the room, and screw that, I was gonna be the smartest person in the room, and everybody needs to listen to me, and you guys are kind of feeling where this is going, right? She was right. I was a brat. So I did a little bit of self-seeking, and we don't need to talk about all of the thoughts that went through my head at that period of time, but there was one guy that really believed in me there. And he said, look, you might be rough around the edges, Sendi, but you're really good at strategy, so come work with me. We're going to go work with builders. And that man was Dave Roseberry. Dave, if you ever watch this, I appreciate you. So Dave took a chance on me. And remember Matt Davis, my professor I told you about? All these gents that were watching out for me, like my dads. They're such great men. I appreciate them. Well, Matt Davis left the university and was working for an agency that had to come pitch for me. And that was the most fun I have ever had in my entire professional career, was having your professor sitting across the table from you, pitching his artwork, you critiquing it, and asking him, so Matt, why did you think that that line was gonna look good there? Can you explain to me your concept on this? Why did you think that that was a good idea? I love power. So anyway, that was really an exaggeration, but it was kind of cool. So anyway, got to work with my professor on a marketing campaign to sell insulation to builders. I know you guys are on the edge of your seats right now. Selling insulation is the sexiest product out there. So many people worry about what's between their walls and what's above their head in their attic. But did you know that insulation can save you 30% on your energy bills? Okay, I'm done. So anyway, going through my career, and it was at that point that I was starting to gain some more success, that I was starting to really kind of make a name for myself within Owens Corning, starting to build my network a little bit, that I started realizing, Danielle, what you love about product management, oh, I forgot to say I went from being in marketing into product management at Owens Corning. So what I loved about being in product management wasn't necessarily the marketing piece of it. It was the technical side. I loved going to our plants and talking with the folks who actually do stuff every day with their hands. I liked being with people who, at the end of the day, they walked away and they knew what they contributed versus sitting behind a desk, feeling like a desk jockey most of the time, coming up with all these great marketing plans, and then trying to figure out why our sales team didn't find them to be successful. So getting out in the field, being the technical expert with our customers, helping them understand how to use vapor barriers with insulation, helping them understand the actual science behind insulation and K values and all of that other jazz. I really enjoyed that, and I wasn't being able to fully leverage that side of my brain. And at that point, I also started thinking to myself, why? Why are you not pursuing job opportunities where you can use that technical side of your brain? And I started realizing, and to some of the men in this room, you might say, okay, girls, stop your whining. We all get it. Women are as smart as men. But what not everybody understands is this is a message that is given to girls from a very young age. You are supposed to be pretty. You are supposed to be skinny. You are supposed to be a mother. You are supposed to take care of your husband, and you are not to put your career before your husband's career. And sorry, but from the 20 minutes or so that you've spent with me, can you see how that didn't necessarily fit for me? Like, I'm married, but very early in our marriage, my husband said, you are brilliant, you are determined, you are passionate, and I am kind of all of those things, but not like you. You're gonna light this world on fire. Babe, I'm behind you 100% of the way. We're gonna prioritize your career. I will find a way to support you. And ladies, find a man like that, okay? Because the other ones suck. No, just joking, anyway. My husband has been with me. He moved across the country with me. He is at home right now working in a home office, and it's quite honestly a little miserable because my husband's like a golden retriever and he loves people, We're working on it, folks. COVID is kind of over, so I can get them out and play in the parks with the other dogs, right? No, I'm joking. And see, my husband puts up with that crap too. Again, ladies, find someone who does that for you. But anyway, so I'm going through this phase of my life where I'm like, all of those things that I've been told are not true. Feminism, and I know, okay, let's just take a breath. Feminism is not about one prescriptive way to be a woman, it is about giving women the opportunity to choose what they want to do. Okay? And if you want to choose to be the skinny, pretty mom, whatever you want to be, awesome. Girl, you go do it to the best of your ability. I got your back. If you want to be a crazy cat lady, girl, I got 2 cats of my own, and you can probably see some of their cat hair on me right now. No judgment, all right? But for me, what that meant was, Danielle, you grew up and your father was a plant leader at a glass manufacturing facility. He came home every day smelling like dust. Yes, that is a smell. Like sand, yeah, that too is a smell. And propane from the forklifts. And that smell to me meant the world, because I know my dad was working his tail off to make ends meet for my family. I didn't realize that at the time, but now I did. At that point I did. So I started thinking, okay, I'm smart, I'm determined, I'm passionate, I have connections. How can I find my way into a more technical role? And so at that point, I started networking hardcore, started talking to anybody that would listen to me, started trying to find people who could kind of testify for me that I actually knew what I was talking about, and ended up crossing paths with my current boss, Jim Gerodimos, lovely man, great. He's from Greece, and he's very passionate. You want to see passion? Talk to a Greek man, all right? He's great. He's very inspiring. But Jim said, all right, you know what, Danielle? I can see this. I can see this potentially working for you, but you're not ready. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm ready for everything. Just throw it at me. I got it. It's like, no, you're not ready. And long story short, on that piece of my life, Jim and I ended up getting into a screaming match, passionate person times passionate person equals fireworks in front of the leadership team of insulation at Owens Corning. That was a great career-ending moment for me. Just kidding. Because good leaders see in their people that passion, when used in the right place, is actually a great asset for your company. And Jim and I got into an argument to the point where we stopped talking for 3 months, and I thought, crap. Now I'm gonna have to go talk to someone in like roofing or composites and try to find a different career. No one in insulation is gonna wanna work with me. And just so you know, you don't wanna work in those businesses in Owens Corning. Just kidding, those people are lovely. I have a lot of friends in those businesses. I just had to say that because I'm gonna share this with one of them, and she's gonna be like, what? And then she's gonna be like, aw. So anyway, okay. I'm just like all over the place. Anyway, so we stopped talking for about 3 months, and I started trying to pivot my career again of like, okay, operations is not in my wheelhouse. What else can I do? And then this great thing happened called maturity, and I realized I needed to swallow my pride, and I apologized to this man. And long story short, he's like, great, Danielle, you know, I love your passion. Love to use it in my plants. Let's go to the Toronto plant together. We'll look at career options for you. And I'm like, awesome. I'm gonna have this awesome career again. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And then COVID hit. And no one could travel, no one could cross the border. And I mean, yes, clearly we have plants in the United States, but these great plans that we had laid out that had given me so much hope were now kind of tossed on the wayside. And as you guys all remember, at the beginning of COVID, we were like, oh, this is only gonna be like 2 weeks, and then we're gonna crush the curve, right? And then it was like 16 weeks later, and I finally bought a work from home desk because I was like, okay, this isn't ending, and I'm tired of sitting on the couch with my cats climbing all over me. And then a year later, and I was still working from home, and all of my dreams were kind of turning gray and squirmy, and we weren't sure what was going to happen to the economy, and they started pumping money into the economy, and everybody's fighting, and I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. We're going to have Civil War 1900, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to lose my job, and I'm going to be a peasant, and I'll be a beer wench. That'll be my future career. I got it. See, we all went to a dark place during COVID, okay? I was the beer wench one, all right? Like, I was kind of thinking, like, post-apocalyptic, what is my job? Because I knew I couldn't be, like, one of those BA people that, like, goes and kills people. I can't do that. So, beer wench it is. Anyway, so during COVID, we were all kind of feeling a little hopeless there for a hot minute, at least in Ohio. I know Utah didn't really quite shut down the way Ohio did. You lucky people. Anyway, during that period of time, reignited some conversations with Jim, my now boss, and I said, look, but for real, what do I got to do in this time period? Are there videos I need to watch? Because COVID's not going to be forever, I have faith. And he said, well, just keep your eye out for job openings. Just keep your eye out for job openings. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So every day I faithfully check the job postings in Owens Corning. And one day, Nephi, Utah plant leader got posted. And my husband said, where's Nephi, Utah? And I said, where is Utah? And not really, I knew where Utah was. Like, I know where the national parks are, folks. Like, come on, just kidding. But where's Ohio? And I'm not talking about Iowa. All right, fair? All right, see? So anyway, and Ohio is the Midwest. It is not the East Coast, all right? Just gonna get that clear. These are arguments I have with my employees every single day. They say, oh, back east. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's back east, but there's like another 10 hours till you hit the Atlantic Ocean. And I have a different accent than those weird people. All right, there's a difference. So, anywho, so I applied, well, actually, I called Jim with the tail between my legs, and I said, Jimbo! I didn't, because he's Greek and he'd kill me. But I said, Jim, sir, remember how we were talking about maybe applying for a job in Nephi, or a job in one of your plants? And he said, you're looking at the job in Nephi? And I said, yes. And he said, Danielle, this is going to be great for that plant. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's great. Well, I didn't know a whole lot about Utah at that time. I'd been here a couple times to visit the plant, but all right, I'm gonna be real and probably offensive. Diversity is not the biggest thing in Utah. I'm sorry, I said it. So for me, being a female, and if you couldn't tell, not a member of the church, being a female in leadership, being a female carrying a master's degree, being a female that cusses, I'm keeping it clean up here, folks, okay? Being a female that's not really typically your classic female, and wears steel toes and climbs in attics and has insulation all over her. And I showered today, that's why my hair's down, but normally it's kind of hard and bricked up in the back of my head. Ask my employees. I'm a real looker. I didn't really fit the mold of what Utah was expecting of me, quite honestly. I mean, let's call a spade here, folks. So there was a lot of questions around me going to that plant. Would I be accepted? Would I be successful? Would people want to work for me? And I didn't know any of that. I was just this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed girl in Ohio saying, oh, I better pack my bags and bring my wheels of cheese, because they might not have cheese in Utah, which you guys really got to get in on the queso scene, all right? Queso on French fries. Life-changing. All right? Potatoes and cheese. That's all you need to know. Anyway, so one day, one of the restaurants in Utah is going to have a dish called the Danielle, and it's just going to be like 20% potato with 80% cheese. and I will have left my mark on this state, and I will be so proud, and I'll leave, I promise. I know you guys don't want people from out of state here anymore, but I'm from Ohio, and we're nice. Anyway, okay, so all this conversation was happening about whether or not I would even be successful in this role. I'm not operations experienced. Don't come back with an engineering background. Remember, I have a fine art degree. I go to museums with scarves around my neck, all right? Sometimes I even wear high heels and dresses when I go to the museum because I actually respect that stuff. I'm that kind of person. Judge me. But how am I gonna be successful here? And so, long story short, my boss said, you know what, Danielle's smart, she knows how to connect with people, and she's really good at cheese and potato casseroles. And if there's anything I know about Utahs, you guys like your funeral potatoes. All right? And I make some killer funeral potatoes, which in Ohio we just call cheesy potatoes, but I don't know why you guys gotta make your potatoes sad. All right? It's like the best freaking dish in the world. You call them funeral potatoes. Anyway, they're more like celebration potatoes where I come from. Anyway, so my boss and his boss, the VP of operations, decided, yep, it's a go. Danielle's smart, she can do it. September of 2020, I came out shopping in your guys' lovely housing market. Really fine. I sold my 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on almost a half an acre in a downtown historic district in Ohio for $212,000. Yeah, try to find something like that in Utah and you'd find a storage container and maybe some heroin in the back. I don't know, all right? Like $212,000 doesn't get you much in Utah. Beautiful state, by the way, beautiful state. So, I was going through a little bit of a culture shock, just with housing prices. Found a lovely home in Santa Quinn, by the way, orchards, and it's beautiful. I love it. Better view than Ohio. And paid out the nose, but it's lovely. And go into work my first day, and 5 minutes, okay, great, thank you. And I started dealing with the overwhelming pressure to be successful in this new role, and knowing that every single one of my employees was judging me. Fast forward was 30 days later, corporate came into my plant, told me they were going to be completely retooling this plant. I was going to be tripling my workforce in an unemployment market. If you guys don't know, Utah has a 2.2% unemployment rate, which is a record historical low and like the 3rd lowest in the entire country. That we were going to be shutting down a facility in California and moving that equipment to my plant, which, by the way, I had friends that were working in that plant, and they didn't know they were about to lose their jobs. And all of this was happening on day like 27 of my new job. So I'm dealing with first impressions, being judged for being this corporate desk jockey loser, coming in not knowing the first thing about how to turn a wrench on my machines, but still having to lead a group of 40 men and 1 female. She's my admin. Shelly, you're awesome. And telling them how to do their jobs. That's not, like, no. So I cried, had a glass of wine, and then I, again, fast forward, because I'm running out of time, decided, you know what, Danielle, you're gonna buck up. You're gonna go meet with your city leadership. You're gonna start developing relationships with the government. You're gonna participate in the Juab County, or actually I think it's the Central Utah Economic Development, UDEC, whatever the C stands for, committee. I'm under pressure, guys. I'm not good with time. But I really doubled down again. Are you gonna be the prettiest girl in the room? Boys, are you gonna be the prettiest girl in the room? Are you gonna be the smartest girl in the room? All right, watch out for him. He's gonna be paving roads for y'all. Anyway, so all this to say, again, just to kind of put a period at the end of my current experience in my current role, I absolutely freaking love it. One passion I didn't know that I have is people leadership. I love being able to look at my employees and see them for who they actually are. To actually be able to come into a state where y'all don't do great with mental health care here. Your suicide rate is through the roof. And I hear some laughs, but like, it's kind of serious. And be able to come in and talk to my employees and say, you are okay. You are worth it. You are worthy, and you have tools at your disposal, and here they are. We have EAP programs. We have people here who care about you that will come pick you up for work because your wife is divorcing you and is taking the car, whatever it is. You are worth it, and I see you. That is not a message my employees had received before. And so all of that to say, as you guys are in high school, many of you guys are in high school, don't sell yourself short to only one career path. I went through a lot of different twists and turns in my career that surprisingly I cut out. Like, I've been talking for a while. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Go get some cheese and potatoes and you'll feel better after this. I know I am. I've been talking about that a lot. Don't sell yourself short on what your career opportunities are. Don't be afraid to try new things. And if there's 3 things to summarize this talk that you guys can walk away with, I know, right? She's gonna shut up, isn't it great? 3 things to summarize this talk. Number 1, network. Even if you're going to be going and running your family farm at, like that video said, network. Because you never know when the next supply chain crisis is gonna hit. You never know when you're gonna need to find a new job. You never know when you're gonna wake up one day and your husband's gonna have a chronic illness that's gonna require you to have to take a step back in your career so that you can hold his hand while he gets an NG tube shoved down his throat. Real life story, okay? Network, because of the networking I did, I had connections that helped me maintain my career through the twists and turns of my life. Be resilient. Life sucks sometimes, and that's okay. Because there's a lot of really good, awesome things that we get to experience in this world. And you guys live in a freaking awesome state that's absolutely gorgeous. Be resilient. Find your faith. Find your meditation. If you want to do crystals, whatever it is, find whatever it is that you need to do for your self-care and your mental health care to remain resilient through the twists and turns of your career. Because guess what, high school kids? It's rough out there. All right? Once you're outside of the nest, mommy and daddy aren't there for you anymore, and you don't want to become the statistic that moves back in with their parents. And then the third, be curious. If I would have just stopped in art school and said, this is all that I have for my life, I would have never really dove into the technical side of what I was doing. I would have never started asking questions about operations, and it would have never led me to the career that I have now, where I'm able to daily change lives and use that technical side of my brain to help other people, and quite frankly, make a bunch of insulation to help homeowners like you save money on their energy bills. So all that to say, I hope you find my story somewhat relatable and or interesting, because I just did it. All right? I think that's it. All right, thank you.